Good morning, everybody. It's Kyle again here. With your daily motivation. Today, I kind of want to talk about, career choices and, I guess I'll call it second chance kind of thing. So I think it's important, you always kind of know what you want to do. But if you don't have it figured out, that's, I don't want to say it's not a problem, but it's, it's okay. Like I'm 30 right now. I've gone from, I was originally trying to go for, I thought I was going to end up being like a buyer in retail. And then I went from that to thinking, I was going to be a business analyst. See, that's all it's been. I thought I was going to be like a software developer or game developer. And then like, I thought I was going to be like three other things past that. But, a lot of it was due to the fact that, I was experimenting with a lot of different things. I was learning a lot of different things. And, every time, especially like now I feel like I've really kind of found where I want to go for sure. And, it didn't come easy. And, at this point in the game, you think about, most people like my father worked at like the same place for like 35 plus years, right? So when you're doing the math and stuff like that, you're looking at like, okay, well, career, you want to be there for a long period of time. And, I'm 30. So like, if I retire at 55, that's 25 years if I stay at the same company. But like any moves, then you're just cutting that down. So, it's kind of scary sometimes. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to say that, it's all sunshine and rainbows. 'Cause it definitely isn't. If you ever like get in that situation, but I think the most important thing to know is that there's always a way to come out of it. There's there's a really great quote, and like this is kind of what I feel before I get to the quote. I really enjoy it because I feel I was. I was on one side of the situation, and now I feel like I'm on the other because, I used to talk myself out of a lot of things. So, the quote is, a man another says he can or he can't, and usually he's right. I've done a lot of things. Like, if you told me I was going to work where I work now, like doing what I do, like, I guess like web design, if you want to call it that, and like tech support for, like websites and stuff, man, I would have been like, there's no way, I'm no skill. Like, I don't know I wouldn't even know where to start. But the thing is I did, like, I was like, I can do this. I told myself I could do it. I knew that, there were skill gaps, and I knew that I was going to be the person that, any skill gap I had, I was going to be the person to fill that skill gap. And I wasn't going to care what it took, extra studying, not necessarily like online resources, courses and stuff like, tech is kind of nice because, you have things like W3 schools, tons of YouTube tutorials on like so many different things, like learning programming languages and all kinds of stuff, right? So, there's a lot of resources for me out there. But, I mean, I feel, I won't say every industry, but, there's always room for you to improve. There's always resources out there. Obviously there's courses and stuff like that. You can go to college, and like to even take night courses. That's always a great option because like, even just having like one course that's going kind of in the direction that you're going, diplomas are always nice, or certificates or whatever. But, showing that interest and like, being able to put that in your resume, when I, because right now, like my focus has kind of been like going towards like more like a marketing focus because of like my passion of analytics and that kind of stuff. And I ended up last time I like had an interview for something like this, it was funny because like I hadn't really thought about it. Resume is very important. I'm sometimes kind of bad at it, so I haven't updated my resume in a little bit. So like, I think I added my like Google certifications on there, but like I left like all of like my business analyst and like software development courses. And like when I was in the interview, like they straight up asked me, they were like, so like, why are you interested in marketing? And I said like, I told them my reasons. And they're like, because like if I'm reading a resume, like I don't see marketer. I see, software developer or, or business analyst. And I was like, yep. So I'm like, some of those are relatable skills. And then I kind of just was like, well, thinking inside, like, well, shit. And, it's a really great point, right? Like everyone always talks about at your job, everything's about perception, right? I mean, your resume is really no different. I mean, if you, I used to always, and this is where I kind of used to get confused, like more so like, I guess like when I first started like applying for like different kinds of jobs, like years and years and years ago. But, I used to always think about like, I need to look as impressive as possible. I need to put as much education, as much certifications, blah, blah, all these things. It's great for sure. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, if you see a resume that has a ton of skills on it, it's obviously great. But like, if they're not relatable and almost counterintuitive to what you're applying for, that's where you got to kind of watch. So that was kind of a lesson for me. And, it really opened my eyes to a lot of things. And, I'm a person, I kind of, patience is not one of my strong suits sometimes. So sometimes, I really rush for things and I really like push to get them as quickly as possible. I have a goal. I push to get there and get it as complete as quickly as possible. But, finally, I think this last time, where I applied for something in a marketing type role and didn't get it, it kind of really opened my eyes a little bit because, it kind of, and especially doing this too, this has also been like another super eye-opening thing for me because I've been talking about it forever and now I finally am doing it, which is awesome. And I hope you guys enjoy it just as much as I, enjoy doing it. But it opened my eyes that, sometimes like, and I used to think if I wasn't driven and always going and always doing and always doing and like all these other things, like trying to, speed my way there, is that, I finally kind of took the time to sort of like smell the roses, realize how far I've come, realize the great things that I get to do every day, which, I mean, I didn't really forget that, but like, I just had more appreciation for it, like I'd say like before I had like, I'd be like 70% on like, oh yeah, like I love what, like I'm doing great at what I do and, I love it and everything else. Well, I loved it like 100%, but like the appreciation for like how much of an impact I made was like 70%. Whereas like now it's like I'm looking, taking a step back outside, looking in, top down, it's a lot, I look at it now where I'm like, okay, I've come a long way. I've got an amazing team that I work with every day, which I love because my team is like diverse. So like I honestly talented bunch of people and I learn something new from them every day. And I absolutely love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And like it really just kind of let me be. And one thing that, my boss has always told me, and I think this is an important thing, especially internally, if you're ever applying for jobs, I know it's good to be excited. And again, someone like me who doesn't have patience and is always rushing to do things, always focus on like, and I know it sounds kind of dumb, but always focus on your own role first. And if you are focusing on your own role, like all of the time, that's great. All right. Like if you're doing that already. But the important thing is that, when you've applied and you've done your learning, you've done, gotten your experience or whatever, the important thing is that the biggest thing that you can control is absolutely nailing the role that you have now. And it's something that, I would sometimes forget because I'd get so just caught up in, because again, I dream big, right? So like me, I apply for a job, I'm thinking about it. I'm thinking about what if I'm successful, what that's going to look like, thinking about like how it impacts my life, like both personally and professionally. Thinking, okay, like I'm going to need to learn skills, and the excitement of like learning something new and doing something new, that kind of sometimes gets the better of me. And like, I consciously make an effort to dial it back, right? Like when I start getting in that kind of chain of like dreaming and excited, and like, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad thing. It's like, it's great to be excited about it. And like, it's great to be excited about your dreams because for me, like that's, again, like I said before, like I have to believe 100% in what I do. Otherwise, like I'm not gonna give my full all to it. So, it's important to be excited about them, but it's also important to know where you're at currently, and like control what you can control, right? And like once you apply for a job, interview for it, and everything else, the only thing that you can control is what you are doing currently. Because your performance slips, and because you're going for this other thing, it's not going to be a good time because when they ask your boss about it, they're going to be like, how's he doing his role? Like, well, I've been kind of distracted lately, he's not really performing. That doesn't look great. So perception's a big thing. I know I said I was going to talk about like kind of like the second chance or second chance type thing. So like, I think it's important to note that like, even though it's been, like however old you are, it could be 20, you could be like 40 right now. It's never like really too late to make that second, like that kind of, that new start. So you're kind of like second chance at careers, I kind of like to call it. Cause like I remember when I was in college, like, there were people like that were like 45, like, and so like in the program I went to, it was like the third hardest program that they offer at this college. And, they recommend, if you have the option to not work, don't work, while you're in this course. And like some of these people were there because like their business was like, you know what, you have like the like practical experience, but we need you to go and get like the certification kind of thing. So like some of them were like, paid by their employer to be there. And like some of those guys were older, but like that's fine, whatever, right? Like they've already done. But like there were some people there like had never really worked in like tech and like never done software development, and like they were just starting something new. And like to me, like back then, I was like a shitty kid back then, basically, and like I was like, man, that's crazy, like starting that late in the game, like, oh, like you're gonna by the time you finish and then like get a job, you're gonna just pay it off and then be retiring, kind of being the idiot kid that I was. But now looking back, like that's inspiring, you know what I mean? Like to want something so bad that like even though others might think it, kind of like crazy, they're running with their dreams and they're going for it. And like again, that's powerful. So like those people, props to them. So never get like afraid, like I guess have a, like what I would call like a healthy, like fear about, finding your career, healthy in the fact that you are going to make sure that you go out and find out what you want to do. And like, you're going to be dedicated, but not fearful enough that you're letting it control your life and you're like panicking about it and taking that home with you. One great skill that I used to practice was, I used to worry about like every little thing, like social anxiety, depression, right? So like I worried about everything, any little thing could be, a big thing in my mind. And it kind of started with, domino effect and just keep going and going and going. Is one skill I learned was worry time. So take 20 minutes, half an hour at the end of a day, not even end of a day, like just some point in your day, allow yourself to worry about things, don't necessarily freak out, but like, like allow all of that to flow in your mind and just be like, even if you're problem solving while you're doing it, like being like, oh, like I'm not going to make this, this bill payment or something, like, or, I'm not going to be, I'm trying to think of a great example here. Sorry. My boss thinks he's going to fire me, whatever, blah, blah. Even if you're doing that and being, okay, well, like I can do this, that's fine. But like, give yourself that period of time. After that, remove it from your mind, like push it out, give like hyper focus on other things so that, the rest of the day you can be focused and nailing it, but you're not just, basically bottling that up forever, right? You're at least giving yourself some time to feel it and then letting it pass. There's a great quote from some motivational speeches. It says, tough times will come, but tough times have not come to stay. They've come to pass. Nothing lasts forever. It's a very, very important thing to note. I know a lot of times it feels like it's never going to change, but most of the time when it's not changing, it's because you have that mindset that it's never going to change. So I think that wraps it up. I kind of went a little bit longer today. I'm like 15 minutes, so sorry guys. So I hope you guys have a great Friday. I hope you're like finishing off the week strong. Yeah, I'll be back with new videos next week. If you guys are really enjoying these, please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have a Facebook page as well. I post a lot on LinkedIn too, like some other stuff, and I've been writing some like articles, slightly related to this, but also like some ones about like e-commerce and that kind of stuff. So, feel free to check those out. Also, if you guys have like feedback or like, things you would like to see me cover, or, if you have questions, for me, anything like that, just please drop them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer any of them. There's nothing more than I like is a great conversation, like really kind of sharing my thoughts and ideas. So, have a great Friday, guys. See you later.